When I was a teenager, most of the food that I was giving my pigs was actually perfectly fit for human consumption. It was coming from supermarket dumpsters. Bins full of food were locked and sent off to landfill sites. And I thought, well, I'm just scratching the surface here. At least a third of the world's food supply is currently being wasted. When you add it all up, it amounts to an enormous environmental catastrophe and a major contributor to the scarcity of food in some parts of the world. The ridiculously strict cosmetic standards laid down by supermarkets in Europe and America mean that farmers in Kenya waste thousands of tons of perfectly good food every single year, right where there are millions of people hungry. This is the food waste from one day of packing in one plant in Kenya.
Millions struggle finding enough to eat while millions of tons of food are thrown away. That is wrong. But a new report released recently also provides evidence that the 60 million metric tons of food wasted every year in the United States alone is both a serious economic and environmental issue. The value of the food alone is $162 billion, on top of the $1.5 billion it costs to landfill it and the energy costs of producing it.
Like these video clips say, 40% of the food grown in the United States ended up in the garbage in 2013. This is nearly half of our food supply. At a global scale, food waste numbers are quickly rising to 50% as developing countries deal with problems such as food spoilage and contamination. As these countries struggle to use every shred of edible food to its fullest, the U.S. is constantly throwing away perfectly edible food. This system, to me, looks more like a causal loop than a stock and flow diagram because it all loops back into each other and is continuous. It starts with the production of food. There's an incredible amount of food wasted at this point in the food supply chain. Farmers don't even bother to take the energy to collect the produce that they don't think will sell. This leaves a ton of food on the ground and left in the fields. The food then gets processed in factories and such, and only the food that looks pretty much perfect, aka without any blemishes, goes to the supermarkets. The rest is thrown away. At the supermarket level, they go through the produce again and throw away more items that they don't think are aesthetically pleasing enough. Supermarkets also overstock their shelves so that they look good to consumers. But this means more food goes bad before it is sold. But consumers often impulse buy, so the more of something that they see on the shelf, the more they want to buy it. Once the food goes home with the consumer, 20% of what they just bought gets thrown away for many reasons. People often get confused by sell-by dates and throw away perfectly edible food. All this wasted food is thrown out into the landfills. These huge landfills produce a huge amount of methane gas, which then contributes to the heating of the planet, and the whole cycle starts again. The tragedy of the commons is very prevalent to this system. Each person doesn't think they are throwing away enough food to cause an issue, but everyone doing it at the same time creates a very big problem. We all need to think more about the communal good rather than our own individual needs and wants. We become lazy with our food because we're spoiled by having so much available to us all the time. The problem that arises with all this wasting of food is too much hunger in the world, but there's also an overproduction of food. Therefore, our leverage point to intervene and change this food waste system is to redistribute the food that would have been thrown out. The overall outcome of this food system is usually a food shortage in many cities and towns. In order to fix the trap of food waste, we might lessen the flow of thrown out or wasted food. The Boulder Food Rescue has a great solution to the main trap of the food waste system. The Boulder Food Rescue is an exemplary nonprofit organization that redistributes food waste to agencies that feed the homeless and low-income families, making the community much more sustainable with food waste management. The Boulder Food Rescue steps in and changes the behavior of the food waste system. It takes all the edible food waste it possibly can find in the community and recycles it to reduce hunger in the community. The policy resistance trap still occurs, though, when there are policies in place to protect people who want to donate food instead of throwing it away, but people still throw away the food because it's cheaper and easier to do so. The Boulder Food Rescue uses this perfectly edible food waste to support their local community in many ways. They help the environment by reducing the amount of waste produced, which reduces the amount of food that sits in landfills. When food sits in landfills, it emits methane gas. Methane gas emissions then contribute to the warming of the earth. They also use bikes to get the food from point A to point B. This program also helps the local economy by creating more affordable food options while also reducing the food waste produced by the community. They also create more job opportunities in the community, and they also lower household food bills. Finally, this organization's mission is socially important because they help by educating the community about food justice. And the rescued food is redirected to help eliminate hunger in the community. Their goal is to make sure no one goes hungry because there's plenty of food to go around. The Boulder Food Rescue is now starting to reach out to the national and international scale as well as the local community. The organization is trying to educate communities around the world about food justice. This Boulder Food Rescue has started a project called the Food Rescue Alliance that aims at encouraging food recovery and a movement towards ending food waste around the country. Their employees and volunteers give educational talks around the U.S. on food waste, food rescue, complexities of capitalism, the globalized food system, food insecurity, and privilege and sustainability. The Food Rescue Alliance coordinator's job is to facilitate a network that helps new food rescue organizations find the support they need to get off of the ground and move towards sustainability. Also, the movement towards ending food waste in the world makes large-scale economic sense by reducing disposal costs for restaurants, producers, farmers.
Football stadiums.
Food waste is like the band Rascal Flatts. It can fill a surprising number of stadiums, even though many people consider it complete garbage. But between producers, sellers and consumers, Americans are throwing out a third or more of our food, and the amount we throw out has increased by around 50% since the 1970s. At this rate, in 40 years, when you order pizza from Domino's, they'll just deliver it straight to the nearest dumpster. As they should, but that's not the point here. And if you think that this sounds bad, just wait until you see how it looks. Check out this waste dump in California's Salinas Valley.
We got a whole load, pretty much, of loose organic lettuce. You know, we've got spinach towards the back. Looks like it's perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. We got some kale here. We got broccoli in the back as well. We have plenty of produce to make a salad here.
Oh, not just a salad. You could make a significantly better salad than the salads they actually sell at McDonald's, which look like the trimmings in Ronald McDonald's lawnmower mixed with grimace ejaculate. And the thing is, watching all that food go from farm to not a table is awful for a bunch of reasons. First, and most obviously, there are many people in this country who need that food. In 2013, nearly 50 million Americans lived in food-insecure households, meaning that at some point in the year, they struggled to put enough food on the table.